Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on Martial Politics. Today I'll be discussing the Freedom Squad, which is get into it in a moment, but it's one of the saddest fiscal con attempts I've seen to counteract the left. So of course, if many of you haven't seen or heard about this recent group formed in Congress called the Freedom Squad, just consider yourselves lucky. It's one of the saddest attempts I've ever seen from the fiscal cons in the Republican Party to counteract the left. Of course, instead of fighting them on social issues where the left-wing populists they're gone completely insane, they instead fight them on economic issues where, of course, they will get absolutely crushed, which is the last thing you want to be doing as a fiscal conservative against left-wing populists, because you'll literally embarrass yourself. You oppose like $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all. You look like it doesn't look like you care about anyone. And I'll get into a clip soon. So of course, you know exactly what these people do. When they talk about these people, they just scream socialism or Marxism, and they call them extremists, but for all the wrong reasons. They call them extremists for wanting a $15 minimum wage and Medicare for all. Actually, not even just Medicare for all, just expanding basic healthcare programs so all Americans can have healthcare. Now, what is the fiscal con argument to economic issues? It's already so obvious. Instead of actually getting valid policy prescriptions, they just say big government bad. They're such clowns, it's not even normal. There's no wonder hardly anyone elects these people, because they don't stand for anything. They're just corporate hacks. Anyways, I will show a short clip of two of the members of the Freedom Squad, Congresswoman Salazar and another one, I forgot her name. Anyways, I'm just going to let you watch it, and I'll give my analysis afterwards.
Congresswoman Malliotakis, let's start with you for one moment. You guys didn't necessarily name yourself or decide, I guess, to brand yourselves as the Freedom Force, but here we are. It's who you are. So what does it mean? What distinguishes the Freedom Force from other Republicans in Congress, and what is the mission?
Well, I think there are many that actually do share our mission, but the goal here is to fight back against those who are trying to fundamentally change our nation, those who want to destroy jobs and completely wipe out industries, those who are trying to change our history, trying to cancel our founding fathers, those who want to indoctrinate our children and strip our freedoms and liberties. I think what our message to the American people and to those who are attempting to do this is that this is a very slippery slope. It starts with this, the government gets more and more control, and eventually we are in a socialist society, and that is what our families have fled, and we know and want to share that with people, because I don't know that everyone sees what is happening right before our eyes. Little by little, our liberties are being taken away as government grows and grows, and these individuals must be stopped, and we're going to be out there with that message and pushing back as well on the House floor.
Congresswoman Salazar, you know, I think 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, certainly Democrats, maybe even some of those in the middle would have waved their hands at Republicans claiming threats of socialism. In other words, they would have said, oh, that's hyperbole. But, you know, this isn't just theoretical, as Congresswoman Malliotakis pointed out, for you and others. Your families have experienced socialism firsthand. You know how it comes, and you know its cost as well.
And that's exactly right. And what Nicole said is it's right on point. We have a point of reference. We know what the other side looks like. We know what democratic socialism is: misery, oppression, and exile. And the problem is that they're putting socialism, and then on front of it, they're putting a pretty word. Either it's democratic socialism or pragmatic socialism or pretty socialism. It doesn't matter. Socialism. Socialism is an economic model that has failed. Freedom Free market, liberty, democracy, that is what we need. The American exceptionality is what 300 years ago was created, and we need to continue with that American agenda. If we go to socialism, we go to something called the Banana Republic agenda. We cannot do that for the future of my children and your children. So that's why we're here, united, together. And we created the Freedom Force, and I'm delighted to be part of it.
Now, as you all saw, they said all the cliche, garbage establishment or fiscal conservatism talking points about big government bad. Like, any attempt to help regular people is bad, but I'll get into more of that soon. But the part I find really funny is actually at the end. With this woman here, Maria Elvira Salazar, Florida Congresswoman, she said, "Oh, we're gonna follow the Banana Republic agenda, or whatever," that she said, something along those lines. Now, I just find this really hilarious because the Banana Republics were corrupt governments in Central America, of course, which were controlled by the big banana fruit companies. Now, what is this an example of? Oh, corporate oligarchy. And it's just, the irony is completely lost on these people. Now, of course, the thing is, the policies that fiscal conservatives push for, such as, whatever, so-called free market, which is really just, the corporate oligarchy, free trade, corporate tax cuts, etc., they could actually lead to something like this. Oh wait, I forgot. We live in a corporate oligarchy. This is what we're living in. We're living in a corporate oligarchy. Of course, the powerful corporate oligarchy has massive influence over our country's political institutions and our elected representatives. Like this woman, for example. I bet she's paid Congresswomen Salazar and Maliotakis or whatever. They're both paid by these large corporations who push for, so-called free market nonsense. And the funny thing when they're doing this is that they're guising it in this way that they're fighting for working people or regular people, but it's just so obvious that they just represent corporate interests. They don't represent regular people. It's so ridiculous. And I've seen this a million times before. All these fiscal cons, they not all of them, but some of them, they pretend to be oh, I care for the working class or whatever. It's such nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Now, when they support the free market, it's really just code word for supporting the economic status quo, which is only helping the top 1% while the rest of the country suffers for the most part. But again, she just claims so many other ridiculous, funny things. She claims oh, we need more democracy or whatever. What do you mean? Do you mean democracy in the workforce? Doubt it. Now, she says, oh, I want more democracy. Okay. Why don't you support democratizing the workplace? Where, workers have the ability to bargain for higher wages, paid family leave, and other pro-family initiatives. Well, of course, as I just pointed out, she doesn't care about families. She doesn't. She obviously represents select corporate interests, and it's so obvious. Of course, as everyone knows, these corporations don't care about taking care of their workers. They just care about cutting a profit. And they could care less about, their workers and their families. And while the workers create all the wealth for the corporations, they can't even, support normal functioning and prosperous families. But no, she claims to be fighting for families, but she doesn't support any of these simple initiatives which would actually help working people. None of this helps working people at all. Screaming, socialism! Socialism! Bolshevik Bernie? Marxism, 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 Marxism! Shut up! No! You're such a joke and a fraud. It's so unbelievable. And I hate a lot of positions that the left-wing populists support. But they're not authoritarians. They're clearly libertarian on many social issues. Like, they support decriminalizing, like, literally all drugs, which I completely disagree with that, because you're literally just empowering corporations to that part, and you're also poisoning America's population, basically making them dumber and less cognitively active. That's the last thing this country needs. If you couldn't tell already, this country is really just... we've just become a joke to the world, basically, in a way. And, yeah, do I really want to give power to these big drug? No, of course not. But she doesn't attack them for this. She attacks them for ridiculous, for actually good things. Good things. Like, really? Oh my god. I oppose a $15 minimum wage. Really? You don't need... They support... To be honest, they support narco-capitalism where there is no minimum wage. They don't really care about working people. And I love how they guise it. I just love how, like, she pretends like, my family suffered under socialism! And the first woman says, like, oh, government control always leads to socialism. Such nonsense. It's so unbelievable. Of course, the truth about government power is that it's not inherently good or bad. It depends on what you're actually doing with that power. For example, what if, I don't know, this is like a very wild example. What if you could actually nationally prevent abortions from happening? That's an example of a very large expansion of federal power. Would she oppose that? I don't know, maybe so. I don't know, maybe. Or another example, something that they'd probably support. Corporate bailouts. Oh yeah, I forgot you would support that because you're funded by these people. It's unbelievable. They only like government intervention when it helps the top 1%. That's it. Or whatever their special interest. That's all they care about. Now, as I conclude this video, I'm just saying, like, please don't fall for this. This is, like, the saddest attempt by the GOP establishment to push the Republican Party to this direction, which is the last place you need to be going. Fiscal conservatism, they say, like, socialism has a proven record of failure. Fiscal conservatism has a consistent record of failure after failure. They talk about socialism failing. No, we have to... I'd actually support a mixed market economy where you have capitalism and elements of socialism. But it's just like, socialism! Socialism! Socialism is bad if you're not doing it for, like, the well-being of the population. That's it. We can use government power to help regular people. How is that bad? Because the Constitution? Like, shut up. Stop. You can't just strictly follow the Constitution. It's such a backwards way of thinking. It just drives us backwards. But anyways. These people are absolutely ridiculous, and they do not represent the future of the Republican Party. If this group is really the future of the Republican Party, be prepared for like 12 years of Biden-Harris administrations back to back. That's what you're gonna get if this group really becomes the face of the Republican Party. It's such an absolute joke. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but to be honest, I'd prefer Marjorie Greene Taylor being the face of the Republican Party than this garbage. Fiscal conservatism has a proven record of failure. Proven record! Now shut up with socialism, proven record of failure. Stop. It's because you have actual terrible totalitarian governments that abuse government programs for their own wealth. The thing is, we just have the wrong people in power. That's it. Like, that's the thing I find really annoying, because you criticize government power when we can literally use it to our advantage. It's just government power is in the wrong hands currently, just like the wealth in our country is in the wrong hands. And we need to stop this. Anyways, I kind of just went off on that. But, yeah. Again, don't follow this garbage. Please keep an open mind, and I encourage you to read actually a very good article from Pedro Gonzalez. He's written a lot of good articles. He wrote this really good article recently, The Conservative Case for a $15 Minimum Wage. I actually encourage you to listen to that. Read it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I kind of, sidestep sometimes, but I think you get the main point of this video. Just oppose fiscal conservatism every step of the way. It's just a terrible tool by the political establishment to reinforce, their economic power, which is really the real divide in American society, not race. Anyways, of course, like and subscribe for more. I'd like any feedback in the comments about anything I said. And, yeah, of course, hope you all have an excellent day, and I will be uploading another video in a few days. Anyways, farewell.